Okay, then we're going to exacerbate the confusion with diffusion. So adoption looks at how individuals make up their decision to buy or not to buy. And diffusion takes that up to the next level and looks at the process by which populations adopt a product. And what they find is that there are, I can't read, is that 5 or 6? Gary. There's innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. There's going to be 6, but I don't want to give the story away. So what happens is populations tend to adopt products in waves. The first wave is the innovators. These are generally about 2.5% of the eventual market for a product. These are the people that need to have the latest and greatest, and they are banging on your door looking for new products. They're the ones that are driving by the automobile testing grounds up in Detroit to try to get pictures of the new cars because I got to have the latest and greatest. Marketing to those folks is easy. They're asking for your product. We call that low-hanging fruit. They want to have it. It's an easy sell. They're very forgiving. I just remember I forget it was the first iPhone introduction or the 4th iPhone introduction, where you had the people waiting around the block to get the first one, and then the day after they had launched it, they cut the price by $100. Remember that? So how did those people who stand in line waited 24 hours to buy a product and then had to pay $100 more than everybody who didn't wait? How did that make them feel? Didn't bother them because, well, yeah, they're fanboys. But again, the idea was I will forgive you those little imperfections in order to be able to say that I have the latest and the greatest. The next wave is what we call the early adopters. These are people who want to be trendy, but they don't necessarily have to have the latest and greatest. And these are kind of the people that, opinion leaders, those are the ones that you look for to kind of be ahead of the trend. They are reached through word of mouth. No, I'm wrong. Yeah, those are reached through advertising and word of mouth. Again, they're interested in the product, but they're not going to be quite as forgiving as the innovators. And I think I'm going to talk about the development gap, if not this time, next time. And then at some point, we make it to the big time. And if a product makes it to the mass market, then we have the early majority, which is about 1/3 of the eventual market. These are the people that's kind of the mass market. Advertising will reach these folks. And then the late majority is another 1/3 of the population. These are the ones that, I don't really need to be the latest and greatest. The one that I have works fine. I'll wait till it breaks. And eventually they'll buy it, but they don't believe advertising. It's more of a show me. If everybody else has one and it works, then I'll get one. And then laggards, about 16% of the population. These are people who won't adopt unless you absolutely force them to. I know I'm going to share how deprived I was as a child living in my suburban estate. But we didn't get color television until I was 24 years old. Yeah, no color TV till I was 24. Can you imagine? I'm in therapy for it now. But again, my parents were, so the TV we got works just fine. Until it breaks, we will continue, and eventually it broke somehow. And then this last group, which wasn't in the chart, but I really want to make a point, is you always need to understand that no matter what your product is, there are going to be people who are not going to buy it ever. And so we don't measure that as part of but just recognize that, there are people who today do not have a television. Not because they can't afford a television, but because they don't want a television. Some of them even have black and white. I can recommend a good therapist. Some people don't have phones. not because they can't afford a phone, because they don't want a phone. So the idea is that just because a product exists doesn't mean everybody's going to want to buy it. We have questions on this? If we don't, I might have to let you out early. Yeah. Well, that would be the end of the discussion then. So we'll pick this up again next time, talk about product life cycle.